Welcome to the Online Edge podcast, the only podcast that understands the difference between Yetis and Sasquatches. What's up, everybody? So today we wanted to do a recorded podcast where we talked about the equipment that we used for our last week's podcast, which we actually did live. So
we're speaking to our future self.
We have that's very true. Speaking to our future self. So we have a pretty great setup for the money, I would say.
Yeah.
We have a pretty good setup as far as quality for video and audio podcasts are concerned. So I want to walk you through some of the key elements of what we do, what we use, why we use it. A lot of these things can be interchanged. If there's cheaper options, I'll tell you that. But I'm going to tell you what we use and why we use those things. So the first thing to talk about would be, let's talk about the audio side of the podcast first, because a lot of people, you don't want to do the video, you just want to do audio. So we'll talk through a couple things that we use for audio. So I use we have 3 Rodecaster Pro microphones. These are XLR mics, so not USB. The reason why we went with XLRs, there's a couple of reasons, but one of them we wanted to do more than one, and we wanted to send them into kind of the same audio source so that we could both record and go live with it. So we have 3 of these. These are like $330 microphones. You can get them cheaper used, but Rode actually just recently came out with a smaller version of these microphones that I think are like $100 to $120. Really great sounding as well. There's differences obviously when you start talking about 3 times the money and that kind of stuff, but not enough that you can't. I mean, I've seen some amazing pros using those smaller microphones, and it sounds great. So you can go that direction. And for 3 microphones for you would be the price that we paid for one of these, and it's going to sound amazing. All those feed into the Rodecaster Pro system. It is a 4-channel audio source. It's 4 XLR inputs. It's actually more than that as far as the channels are concerned, because you can preload sounds in there. You can preload intro audio if you so choose. You have 8 different options when it comes to that. You can do calls from it, so you can actually hook your phone up through that. You can talk to a guest via your via the podcast situation with headphones and microphone, and you'll be able to hear that audio coming through, and you'll also be able to record that audio, which is pretty cool, because a lot of times you can get guests that would never show up to your studio, but it's like, hey, will you take 15 minutes for a phone call? And a lot of times the answer is yes to that, especially in the age of COVID. A lot of people are going to be more comfortable with a phone call anyway. So that means that you could have a guest in another country that you'd never be able to fly over here and all that and coordinate all that craziness, but you can still have them on as a guest because of capabilities like that. That means up to 4 channels. That means that right now, if we so chose, we could have a person on a phone call and 4 people here, each with individual microphones through this system. I understand the video world very, very well, filmmaking, all that kind of stuff. I get the intricacies of that. I am no audio technician, and so I needed something that was going to be simple and easy to use, which is why we went with the Rodecaster Pro, went that direction. It's makes your microphone sound amazing. It's a great recording. It's got a lot of features. It is feature packed. They're committed to it, so they're doing a lot of different upgrades and that kind of stuff. Many things that when it first came out that were asked for features, they have updated with firmware in the future. It's an amazing source. $600. Are there cheaper options to record audio? Yes. Are there cheaper options with all the features that this thing packs? No. So if you are like me and you're not an audio technician, something like this is going to be fantastic, where you don't have to worry about the intricacies of EQ and that kind of stuff. In fact, these microphones, because they're made by the same company, have a preset on here, and they sound fantastic. For our studio, we actually completely, to the best of our abilities, it's not literally blacked out, but we darkened the room as much as possible because we wanted to get a consistent look, whether we were recording this at 8 in the morning or at 8 at night. Regardless of where the sun is in the sky, we wanted to be able to get a consistent look for the podcast. And so we darked out the room so that we can control all the light with light sources. We use a 120D like many people on YouTube do. It's kind of the go-to light. I use that in a lot of different sources when I'm out if I'm filming things for local commercials and that kind of stuff, I use the 120D for that. It's my main light. It's a fantastic light for the money. The whole combo right now for the light with the light dome is about $900, something to that effect. You can go cheaper and do some amazing things. This was a great one-stop shop for me to be able to just give us a great, fantastic, consistent look. We have another panel light over here. I think 2 of those. It's a newer. That's the name of the company, not how recent the light was made. It's a newer panel light. There for 2 of those, I think it was like $130 or something like that. That's a ridiculously inexpensive source of pretty good light. We also use the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. We have the ATEM Mini Pro so that we can record straight onto SSDs with that. That gives us the ability to switch us up a little bit, Tyler. So we can go from this camera to this camera to this camera, and we're switching all over the place like this. And this is happening like it's recording into it as we are doing this podcast. And that thing is again, it's feature packed. I'm a big fan of Blackmagic. You're about to hear a lot more about that company, and I'm a big fan of Rode. And the reason I'm a fan of both of those companies is, especially Blackmagic, the bang for the buck is unmatched. There's no other company out there that's doing what they're doing for the price point they're doing it for. The ATEM Mini Pro, they just came out with another one that we're probably going to upgrade to, which ticks me off a little bit, but that's okay. The ATEM Mini Pro, I believe, is like $600. The first one that came out was $300, I believe, which I bought. The second one came out is $600, which was amazing. It gave you the ability to record straight onto SSDs. That was a big deal for us. We bought that, and then they just came out with the ATEM Mini ISO that I think is $930. And I'll be buying that as well, and sending back the other one just because the ISO gives you the ability to do every single one of these records its own video source, which puts together a timeline in DaVinci Resolve for you already, so you can make adjustments afterward, which is a freaking big deal. They're awesome. Speaking of Blackmagic, again, we use primarily the Pocket 6K. But we've got 2 Pocket 4Ks, 3 Pocket 6Ks that we utilize. This is a 3 camera shot, but we have multiple of these for a number of reasons. One, we do a lot of filming for clients outside of this studio, sometimes inside the studio, but a lot of it outside the studio. And those were by far the best cameras for the money. Red cameras, Alexa Minis, all that stuff are amazing cameras. We did not want to put together $100,000 kit for one camera or a $50,000 kit for one camera. So we got 3 outfitted with mostly Sigma lenses. And the reason why we went that direction, again, is we're all about the best bang for the buck. Sigma is as sharp as it gets for the money. Great looking lens, great looking color codec for Blackmagic. It fits our workflow very, very well. It's awesome. I would recommend that highly. They have very recently made a firmware update to those cameras where we are able to see what camera is on based off of the red light that's the recording light that's on. And so now I'm able to follow that as the switches take place and know what camera to look at, that kind of stuff. And on the back of it, great example. And on the back of it, it also says on air. So if somebody is operating the camera, they're able to know for sure which camera's on. So it's just a great setup. My brother-in-law, but our good friend Tyler is here helping us record this. He helps us record all our podcasts and then edits them afterward. And so all of these can be used. I've done it before many times by yourself, like where I've got the ATEM right here and the Rodecaster right here, and I'm able to do what I need to do and also be on the podcast. It's just an easier situation to have somebody help you with it. But if you need to do it by yourself, I've done it many times. You can with this kind of setup, which again was also important to us to be able to make some adjustments on the fly, switch cameras as it's actually happening. And so we've built out this system to be able to do that. We wanted it to be something that we could start recording very quickly. Those were things that were important to us, and we wanted it to be something that wasn't going to break the bank. The Blackmagic cameras are $2,000 or $1,300 a piece. The lenses are, depends, but somewhere between $600 and $1,100. all of these things are things that you can go less expensive on and still get a great look. And all of these things are things that you can spend as much as you want to on and get a fantastic look as well. We felt like this was the point, that anything beyond this was going to be past the point of diminishing returns. And so that's the reason why we made the decisions that we made to do the podcast like this. So this works great for a live setup. It also works great for a pre-recorded setup, which is how we normally use it. But we do a lot of both, really, depending on the client that we're working with or how we utilize it. So that's kind of the setup. Luke, do you have anything technical to add to this?
No technical add-ons.
Nothing at all?
No. Please, crushing this. Where's my light?
That one hasn't been.
God.
We hadn't updated the firmware just yet on that one. So there's your light.
I'm seeing it.
There's your light right there.
That's as technical as I got.
So hopefully that was helpful. We'll list out some of the equipment that we're using below to make sure that you guys can see what we're doing. And again, other people, you may jump on here and have other suggestions of things, of brands that you particularly like and that kind of stuff. I kind of gave you the reason why we go the direction that we go, but there's this, again, the sky's the limit. You can go do a lot of different things. There's so many different setups that you can have. We literally have a studio next door, very similar setup, but we actually have a simpler, less expensive audio board over there. And again, you get a great sound of it. You just have to know a little bit more about audio to get a great sound out of that one. Whereas this one, guys like me who don't know so much can get it. So hopefully that was helpful. I've definitely had a lot of questions about what our setup looks like, how we utilize it. And so giving you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of how we do what we do, what we prioritize, that kind of thing. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I think it will be helpful for a lot of people. This was a little bit more of a technical podcast than we typically get into.
Yep.
So Luke, I'm glad that you were here to
whatever I can do,
And if you have any questions whatsoever, please drop them in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer those. And if it's a question lengthy enough, or one that the answer is lengthy enough, we'll do a whole episode on it. Whether it's about live streaming, pre-recorded stuff, whatever it happens to be, or anything as far as digital marketing is concerned, we're here to help. And we're so glad that you guys joined us today for this very technical, at least for what we normally do, behind the scenes look.
Guys, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's podcast. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Until next week, check you later.